Did you end up finding a Hashlock sticker?
No, unfortunately.
Damn. Folks, this is what you got to do. You got to shill the stickers and stuff.
How good.
And if they're not there, then we need to get some. So Hashlock, please help me out.
Interesting you say that. It's actually going to be a retro one soon because we're doing a
retro.
We're doing a brand update. So that will be it's very similar. So
okay.
The brand's going to look you won't be able to you might not notice, but
yeah.
It's a very small shape and color
okay.
update. I like the venue. It's good. Look, we even got a cruise ship today, so it's a good one.
It's in the way of the Opera House, unfortunately. There's a schedule and stuff for this. I should. So for the whole time, I've always been just like a roll of the dice to see whether or not there'd be a ship here, and it turns out that this whole time there was always like a schedule. I could have just planned around it. So my bad.
There's a schedule. Oh, next time we'll just sit up on the ship.
Well, we've got to do that, folks. And with that, let's get the podcast started. All right, folks, we're back here for another Getting to Know the Community podcast, and we've got the amazing team from Hashlock here. Well, one half of the team,
yes.
Fletcher, so thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure to see you guys in the community, joining us, doing all amazing things, the stuff that you've done to Not Centralized too in terms of auditing some of our smart contracts, and we'll talk about that more when we have some further announcements on that. So, stay tuned, folks. But we want to get to know you now, and what brought you into this whole kind of crypto space? And you've just done a trip recently as well, so I'll talk about that. But how did you get started? Where did this all begin?
Well, talking about the one half of the original team of Hashlock, so big shout out to Jock. He, very early on introduced me to Bitcoin.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So my background's more in marketing and sales. So quick history on myself. I straight after high school went and studied business and law at UTS. It was sort of just starting COVID time, so I was all excited to go and do the whole in-person university thing. And because of COVID and all that sort of stuff, I ended up just getting a full-time job at a marketing company while I was doing uni, because I had some extra time and I wasn't engaged in university. And I ended up really loving learning about marketing and sales, and really getting mentored by the guy who created that company as well. So that was my original skill set, so marketing and sales. And then Jock came along and said, hey, Bitcoin. He's got much more of a technical and all-round background than myself. But
how did you all know each other?
Very long story as well, essentially.
Okay. Another podcast, maybe?
Yeah, probably another podcast. I've known him for a good amount of time.
Yep.
He's essentially a few things. My business partner, my friend. He's also now almost my brother-in-law with my sister.
Heck? Wow. Okay, so folks.
Holds us together.
Some good controversy there. Not controversy. Good stuff there. Yeah, good ties.
Well, hey, if we argue, what are we going to do? We're stuck. So
Mate, that's it. It's a good way to do it.
Exactly. No, we're an awesome team. And so I end up learning a lot about the tech as well. Because I am also, surprisingly a well-rounder at this point as well now, because of picking it up quite early. And then we ended up, long story short, creating Hashlock because I brought my marketing and sales knowledge to it, and also learnt a lot about the tech. Jock brought all of his knowledge. We ended up, through sort of coincidence, I told my boss at the marketing agency that, hey, I want to go do a separate company. I thought that he would fire me.
Right.
And I'd have to go sort of find some money elsewhere while I do this company. And he actually said that he wanted to invest in it. So he's Hashlock's first and only investor.
Wow. Okay. Did not know that.
To this point.
Okay.
And supported us and mentored us through. And to this day, he's still...
Wow.
Well, him and the other person within that company, both our mentors and their team. And that's a brief history of how I got into crypto, but also how I got into Hashlock along with Jock and the investors and all that sort of
stuff. It all
stuff.
ties together and stuff.
Indeed.
Well, shout outs to the mentors, and for folks that have mentors out there, you never know. Maybe ask them this question if you're brave enough to do something as crazy as starting your own company. It can be worth it, right?
Oh, I remember I was so nervous going into the meeting because I really looked up to... This guy hired me straight out of uni. I wasn't even 18 yet because I was like just starting uni.
Yeah.
Wasn't even 18. He's just getting me straight into sales and marketing. And so I looked up to him a lot, and I was really, I ended up working for like 2.5 years, and I was really nervous that he was just going to be like, cool, Fletcher, you're doing your business, but you can't work for me anymore. But his reaction was very positive. He was like, well, obviously it was a good idea, like blockchain cybersecurity, independent auditing, and yeah, we only got enough cash to work for a very small amount of months with a little bit of runway, but then from there you get a few clients, and then that's how Hashlock became Hashlock.
Well, it was enough to, give you enough time to validate and turn it into the thing that is now. And speaking of which, you've just come back from Token 2049 in Dubai, and we were just talking before, but I'd love to get on camera. What was that experience like?
Oh, well, first time in Dubai, so that was awesome. But honestly, respect to the Token team that run that event, because I've heard that the Singapore one's even bigger, like probably 3 times as big. And we'll definitely, the Hashlock team will be there later this year for the Singapore Token event. But it was so fun. It was massive. Heaps of contacts that we made there. The side events that go around the Token event is honestly where it's at.
That's what makes it, right?
Oh, honestly. When we go to events, we really try to be targeted, because a lot of people come back from events and they sort of say, oh, it's hard to sort of measure the ROI. We don't know what we got out of it. For us, we sort of do a few different issues. Like we have like a sort of a lead generation competition that we get companies to sign up for.
Oh, amazing.
We target individuals, and we anytime that if I walk up to you and sort of shake your hand and you're an interesting person, as soon as I walk away from you, I've got your Telegram and everything, I'm screenshotting, I'm writing in my notes, and then I end up after the week with like notes for days, and then I enter them all into the CRM. They're all leads, and then you follow up and you convert 10-15% of them.
Write this down, folks. This is gold stuff right here. Like, obviously you've had good training to do this kind of thing.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Like, for us, we write down all the notes we can about people and stuff to try to see how it all connects, and obviously doing the follow-ups and stuff. But you've only just when did you get back? Because that was only recently.
Tuesday last week got back.
Okay.
So it's playing catch up. And then I'm in Sydney all week this week, and then end of the month I'll be in end of May I'll be at Consensus. So if anyone's going to Consensus, hit me up as well.
Well, we got to get the global audience coming along. You know what you should do when you are at Consensus, if you can, tell them, hey folks, you want to learn more about me? I'm out on this podcast,
Yes.
So you can get to promote us as well, and you get to be seen out there.
That could be on my intro Telegram message because everyone's just adding each other on Telegram. I could just clipboard, hi, nice to meet you, hear more about me on this podcast.
I love it. And for any other future guests, that's what you got to do. You set the bar high, so appreciate it. Thank you so much. So that's how you guys got started and whatnot. And you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but I'd love to expand on that more. For folks that haven't interacted with Hashlock and maybe coming into the crypto space, a lot of the people that we have watching this, they're learning about, what is smart contracts? Who are these people that are building infrastructure? What are layer ones, layer twos? Where you guys sit, first of all, before we kind of jump into it, would you say it's like the auditors of the crypto space, or is it more to it than that?
Yes, no, very, very good question. A lot of people as well have a bit of a learning curve understanding what the auditing in the Web3 space is, because usually in normal business, audit is like either a financial audit or following some sort of regulations, or even following specific cybersecurity standards. A few things about Web3, as you know, but maybe a lot of the audience doesn't know, is that there's not a lot of cybersecurity standards in like smart contracts and layer ones and layer two infrastructure, just because one, all of the vulnerabilities are very unique to each protocol. Like there's new vulnerabilities every day to look for. You can't just set a standard, because we're looking for unique things to each set of infrastructure, and also it's so new and all this sort of stuff. So what we essentially do at Hashlock is we independently verify that Web3 architecture is secure. So we have a team of security researchers, a mix of full-time Hashlock team members, as well as independent, known like academics or bug bounty known cybersecurity team that work for us on different audits for different technology. And we pull them together. We very scrutinally analyze the documentations of the project and all of its goals, and then all of its code and underlying technology, and then try to find the ways to exploit it. We help the project fix them. Once they fix them, we give them a report that has all those details, then essentially says, yes, that Hashlock, to the best of our ability, we never guarantee it, because that's an event, we're auditing so many projects. all the best firms. We have never had it.
Yeah.
As the recording of this, none of our clients have ever had a loss of funds hack, but we can't guarantee because you never know you're playing a numbers game then.
Well, you can give them like a strong comfort over, you've checked these things, because obviously there are new things coming along, and obviously you guys are keeping up to date, but there's only so much that you can do. But is that what it is at the end of the day, that people get a certain level of comfort?
Yeah, so it's got a few benefits. So the community gets a level of comfort that this project's been audited. Obviously the investors and everyone with money on the line, that's a big one. The other reason why is a lot of projects, their first business play is to get on exchanges and launch pads and all those sort of things. And some applications even try to target banks and things like that. And the industry sort of says, show us your cybersecurity audits. And, it hasn't been, luckily for us, it doesn't usually go to like a big four consulting firm. It usually goes to a specialized Web3 only known firm.
Yeah.
Like Hashlock.
Well, that's really good to hear. And even then, like, we know, because a lot of us come from that TradFi kind of background, and I've come from accounting twice. Like, I left audit, it was like traditional audit, Big Four, hated it after a year and a half and stuff. I mean, it was a good job and stuff. It just wasn't for me. Not that I hated it. It just, I couldn't see my future path in that space. And so it's fine. But I ended up coming full circle, ended up doing a lot of work with, and I was like head of technology for an accounting firm. Wow. And still do every now and then like some stuff for the audit team over there, in terms of data analytics kind of work and stuff. So there's still strong ties to it. So lesson, folks, never burn your bridges and stuff. But going back to the audit stuff that you guys are doing, had you seen before, because the space is nascent. Now, interestingly enough, it's not the blockchains themselves that get hacked. We see other things like the off-ramps. We see socially, like like social hacking, like people getting hacked through that. And there are these websites out there, and there's a new group that came out like maybe a few months ago, but Rugdoc, for example, RUGDOC, which keeps a track of like some of the different exploits.
Yep.
And then there's also the Security Alliance, SEAL.
Okay. And there's also, I know very much about Rekt.news. That's usually the go-to.
Rekt. Yeah. I was going to say, like, what is it that, and this is the question, sorry for the long roundabout way, but what are you guys looking out for there out in the ether in terms of what is going on with exploits and stuff?
That's a really big part of it. So internally, we always call our team security researchers for a reason.
Okay.
Externally, like when we're talking to people, they know the term smart contract auditors, security auditors.
Yep.
And like Hashlock's called an auditing firm.
Yep.
But internally, we call ourselves security researchers. And the reason why we say that is a big chunk of it, yes, is looking at Rekt.news, looking at the industry, talking to other auditing firms, talking to other security researchers about what sort of things, because a lot of it's not just in the smart contracts. A lot of it's in the compilers, in the underlying networks, in the consensus mechanisms, understanding the tools that the hackers are getting their hands on. That's who we're going up against at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out how, staying ahead of them, all that sort of stuff. So that's a big chunk of it. And then the other half of it is specific to each client, taking all of their documents and being like, okay, because a lot of it's not only in the code. A lot of it is, here's what your business application is trying to do. You're trying to allow this party to stake, this party to vest, all this sort of stuff. Okay, if we look at those the code looks fine until we figure that's your goal. We can sort of see if we do this, and this order, we can exploit it and take a bit extra each time or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what we're sort of doing.
Does that come from experience that you guys have had working in the space already, or maybe you haven't seen it yourself, but you've read about like a certain exploit? Like, how do you guys know about these vulnerabilities? And when you do that, do you just keep like an encyclopedia internally on this kind of stuff,
Yeah, so it's a lot of IP that we have, but also essentially what it is, and honestly the credit is to the great auditors that we use. Our team are really good. It's the standard in the industry isn't following a set of procedures. The firms like Hashlock set the procedures because there isn't like a regulatory smart contract audit. What it is asking who the actual auditors are. So yes, Hashlock's doing it, but I always tell clients when you're getting audits quoted, like actually say who are the actual auditors within Hashlock that are doing it. And to answer your question, like how do we do all that sort of stuff? Yes, we have our IP and our procedures and our standards that we set ourselves, but I just give credit to the team that we have at Hashlock, both internally and the independent researchers all around different academic spaces and bug bounty platforms and stuff that we use, because they're world-class cybersecurity white hat hackers, I should say. I don't want to say hackers without the white hat in front of it.
Of course, like good witches, not
Yes.
the bad. But that's fascinating, and I guess it is from that collaborative kind of effort that you're able to understand so much so quickly. Because you guys, I mean, how long ago did it start?
So Hashlock started in 2022.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
But we really, and a lot of that was sort of a lot of core building of the company, getting our first clients, really making sure that we set our reputation correctly. And then 2023, it feels like so long, but also feels so quick. 2023, we really sort of built a reputation, I think, and then started expanding. But at the same time, for Hashlock, we we really want to maintain quality because we're a security auditing firm and we have a big responsibility. But at the same simultaneously, we've been able to scale that model with quality, essentially because of the model we have within our team and how we structure our audit squads internally. But long answer to your question, we've been going for roughly, depending on when you call it, around 2.5-ish, maybe slightly more years.
But to your point with the 2023 and getting out there, that's when we first started really seeing you guys. Maybe it was late 2022, but definitely across 2023, we started seeing you guys a lot more at events. We even did some work together and stuff, and I think it's amazing what you guys have been able to grow in such a short period of time. I mean, the whole association, DeFi, is only 2.5 years old. It only started really at the start of 2023 as well.
Yep.
So just because it's only a short period of time, you can really make a name for yourself when it comes to nascent spaces like this. So
I think, and it's crazy because it feels like so long that we've been
Yeah.
But honestly, I really like this point because the strategy that we took at Hashlock was, let's do a startup, but let's not call ourselves a startup. Let's not. Yes, it is a startup by definition, but let's make a business, not a startup. So we, and I like the term startup. I'm just saying the way that all I'm trying to get the point is we were like, let's go for authority straight away. Let's respect ourselves straight away. Let's take ourselves very seriously, and set high expectations for ourselves. We didn't say to ourselves, let's see what happens over the next 4 or 5 months. We said once we had everything set up in the and understood the business plan and everything like that, we said, okay, this first event we're going to, probably one of yours.
Yeah.
Can we get a client at this event? And then
Brilliant.
that's how we did it. And then, like I said, we only had a very short amount of runway.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what we did. Yeah.
I was going to say, well, short amount of runway, but you're still here, so it's proven that the model, the idea, the proof in the pudding has been there. So that's amazing, and even in that period of time, you guys have been really just consummate workers in terms of getting yourselves out there and working with different clients. And because of that, I guess the next question is important, because I was wondering what kind of things you've been noticing in the market, what have been some of the interesting learnings that you've had across your period of time here, anything that you can share with people, because some people watch this because they have projects themselves, or they're going to be working for a new team, they're just coming into the space. But yeah, what are the kind of lessons that you would want to share with the community now that you've got the mic and the camera?
I love it. Hashlock, and same as yourself, a lot of the time that we spent was in a bear market. Yep. So it's cool to sort of, I don't know when you define it, but I think most people would say, well, the market's pretty good right now, generally. So it's really cool to see. But, and I think it was a big struggle. A lot of the Web3 industry was feeling it throughout that, but the people that stayed around, high respect to everyone who built through that period and stayed around, because now I think that with the ETFs and all the liquidity getting locked up and all this sort of stuff, the industry is looking quite good, and the general economy is not even. Wait for a few more years after this. Hopefully, being optimistic. I'm saying. So we have an interesting model in terms of talking about lessons learned and stuff like that, where. Because of the risks that we're protecting with our audits, a project might be launching just a simple simple asset that they want to put $2 million on. That's a small-ish project in
Yep.
the general global scheme of things.
Mm.
Let's say the market cap wants to be $2 million. It's very easy to demand a nice sum of cash to protect that as an audit, right?
Sure. Yeah.
With all the talent that we put into it and all the quality and procedures and all that sort of stuff too.
Of course.
So with Hashlock, we only had to get one, and then we have a little bit more runway, and then another, and then we scaled. So we were able to survive the bear market that way. That's essentially how we survived it. Just getting the jobs in, just survive with it. Another one, and then and not really paying, and also not paying attention to the market, because that's another thing, because we aren't like a project ourselves. We're not trying to pump our own price or something. All that matters to us is how many projects do we get the chance to be lucky enough to work for and help secure.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was building through the bear market.
Yeah.
So yes, their prices and their performance might not have been great at that time. That's when people were building. So that's when all the runway was being created for their smart contracts and all that sort of stuff. So just getting enough things there. I don't know. We learned so many different lessons in terms of negotiating that investment with that mentor. I think he taught us a good sneaky lesson on how to get a good deal. But shout out to him for that, because it was actually really good at the time. We learnt the first Australian crypto convention that we went to.
2022?
Yes. That one was right as Jock and I, we didn't know anyone in the industry.
Right.
That was like our first big event. And I remember it was just before the investment, because the investment money took ages to negotiate, get in and everything. But what happened was we had to get a 10K loan from the bank to to last until we had the investment money. It's 10K loan. So now we're 10K negative.
Yeah.
We used that to go to, I think it was Melbourne. Was it Melbourne?
There was one in Melbourne in
it was
2023.
It was Queensland.
Gold Coast.
That's right. So we went to Gold Coast. And I remember sitting in the hotel with Jock, drilling just introductions of how to explain to people what Hashlock is.
Wow.
Not knowing anyone. And we went in, and I feel like a lot of people in the same boat because it's a new industry, but went in and just had the confidence and just walked up to every stand there, every person there, nervous as, but just did it. And we ended up pulling 2 really good clients. And one of them was the last person that we talked to. It was at the second day. We were so tired.
Wow.
We were like, let's go. We've had a good job. We said, no, we haven't talked to this last stand yet.
Yeah.
And that ended up being massive success in terms of making it all worth it. So
that is crazy. That there's so many analogies there. I mean, there's the iceberg, all the stuff that you've done underneath. There's the panic that looks like it when you look underneath the water and it's a duck swimming along and stuff, and at the top it's all calm and stuff. There's so much that you hear about these kinds of stories, and yet you guys got to live it. It's almost like a buzzer beater.
It literally was, I'm not joking, the last person. They were packing up, and we're just this is the only stand we haven't talked to, and that was the big one that made it all worth it. And
jeez, can you imagine if you didn't?
It probably could have changed some because now it's not as obviously as big to Hashlock.
Yeah.
But at that time, that was a massive job at the time.
Of course. Yeah.
And then I think the only other lesson I've learnt is also I'm very lucky to work with Jock, who makes an awesome team with me. So I think for anyone who's in similar boats working within businesses, I think the team around you is just critical. And I couldn't do it alone personally. I couldn't be a solo entrepreneur. And then the other thing is I'm really passionate about tracking sales and marketing, because that's my thing, right? But I use Pipedrive. It's a really good CRM. And I'm just very diligent with that, and just making sure that each month we send more proposals, start more opportunities. We track them, how many opportunities were started and how many proposals do we send, essentially, and just forget about sales. Just how many of those do we do? How many opportunities do we start?
Yeah.
And how many proposals do we send? If I just worry about those 2 things, the sales statistically, if I just make sure this many and then the next one, it'll grow.
Absolutely. It literally is a numbers game, right? And you're giving yourself the opportunity. And obviously you have to have good product and service and stuff that you're delivering out there. But as long as you've got that, because there's so many groups out there with good tech, good services, good products, good people even, but they'll never get off the ground because they don't give themselves enough opportunity, like, you know, you learned from your early sales and marketing years. So I'm glad that that's like coming through, and that was like pretty much, you know, what I wanted to know, like that business side of things and building the business that you guys have. Like, any other lessons that you want to add for people? Because we're on this topic. I think this is highly valuable to folks that are just, wait, do I start my own business or do I go join something else? Like, yeah, what else do you think?
I think just the biggest point that I see is, and I sort of alluded to this before, but we straight away, our business plan, and it's different. Like, some people are having to build software and all these setups and things, and it takes a long time. So I understand that. For us, in a service-based business especially, like now we're not only but essentially we're an independent auditing firm. That's our primary thing. We were like, once we did all the setup and everything, we were like, how do we get one now? And then and instantly, we didn't give ourselves, all right, we'll be profitable in 6 months to a year. We're like, can we get these jobs and be profitable straight away? Like, it took us a little bit, but then we just had that mindset the whole time. We're in a good scenario, and then just along the way, how important the team, like not just, I said jock, but the actual team that you bring on, because you can make a big mistake just even if you get your first one and they're expensive and they're terrible. And I think the biggest thing that I've struggled with is that you can make the numbers work, you can make but people, interpersonal relationships with clients, people in your network, investors, team members, that is the hardest part of business. And AI or anything like that is not taking away the relationship. Yeah. And I think in 10, 20 years, when AI is doing a lot of stuff, it'll just come down to people who know how to build the relationships and absolutely, you know. So that's not my natural talent, the interpersonal relationship stuff, but I've had to learn it, like how to conflict, when Jock's disagreeing with me, how do I, when we have to come to the investors with something, when we have to, talk to a client about a difficult vulnerability, when we need to sell to a client, it's really nerve-wracking because it's a massive deal or something like that. Like, and team members, I think the interpersonal relationships is the hardest skill that I've seen, but also the most valuable, and it's never going away.
I don't think it is. And even with AI, obviously, because like we're working in the space, and I'd love to chat with you guys about what you're doing there, but it will make things, the mundane task, it'll take away a lot of the clerical work and whatnot. And maybe it'll even be, it will be used to help people come up with things that they hadn't thought of, because as a reasoning engine, it is pretty damn powerful when you give it the right context and you're specific enough with what you want as outputs. You can get some really meaningful insights that if someone else was just typing in a simple query, they're not going to get, So it's how you use the tools, and the tools that help make AI easier. But speaking of AI, something exciting I think as well is that you guys have is it a separate brand under Hashlock, or what? FORTIFAI. Let's talk about that. Tell us more about that, please.
Yeah, so we're sort of taking the umbrella approach. The reason is Hashlock itself is a specialized Web3 cybersecurity firm. Obviously, that's got its ownership. So within the same ownership group, very related because the same ownership group, is FORTIFI.org that we've launched. Okay. So FORTIFAI.
We'll put it in the show notes,
.org. And essentially what that stemmed out of is we have a few things. We've got a lot of sort of data scientists and cybersecurity professionals. But our investors also, I'm not sure where they're at with it, but have one of the really highly funded AI teams within Australia that they've launched that we also have access to. And we just have some of the best security researchers in Australia and if not the world. The other part of it was we invested in a few pieces of AI expertise and individuals within Hashlock before the whole, or at the very start of the whole AI thing, because we wanted to make sure we stay ahead of the competition in terms of AI auditing. So we were looking at, in full disclaimer, Hashlock essentially doesn't use AI in Hashlock services, but we had the team there and the research there. And in response to how quickly all these enterprises and organizations were adopting AI, just rushing to it, not thinking twice, we're like, hold on, put the brakes on here. In the same way with Web3, because it's emerging tech, someone needs to check this and validate that it's safe for businesses to use. Right. So what FORTIFI does, if you build an AI tool, And let's say the example, you're building one for insurance companies, and you're saying to them, your pitch is, we're going to save you 10% of your efficiency and time through this specific business system with our AI tool. FORTIFI will come in and be like, cool, let's test it. Essentially what we do is large-scale output validation. So the core service isn't going under the hood.
Yeah.
That's just traditional cybersecurity primarily.
Right.
The core service is getting large amounts of outputs and watching for things like bias, accuracy, hallucination, alignment, and when it does make mistakes, okay, cool. How costly is that to that core? So to use the example, if you're saying we're going to save this insurance company 10% of the time, and FORTIFI's report comes back and says, okay, best case scenario, yes, but when it makes this mistake that's made X amount of times, it's costing them X, and it's giving them this risk every time it makes this mistake.
Yeah, nice.
So essentially it's performance testing, everything from, like I said, alignment, accuracy, bias, performance, and mainly mistakes that cost the business.
Very good. And when did that one get started?
Very recent, end of last year. I don't actually know the date. That's terrible founder practice there. But end of last year, we're off FORTIFI's off the ground. It's had its first several really cool clients.
Yep.
Some of them, put it this way, one of them is related to a nice government entity.
Okay, fantastic.
In a commercial contract.
Yep.
And yes, so it's going good. It's a very exciting area, but what we want to do is make sure that we're helping to validate and build trust in all the AI startups that, yes, they are safe for businesses to use, and helping them prove that to the stakeholders that they're selling to.
That's brilliant. And, the umbrella strategy is beautiful there, because all of this is that emerging kind of tech marketplace that in the future will just be tech, because everyone will be using it. It's just like cloud was a nascent thing before, and people were like, we've got all our servers here in a rack, in our server room, and now it's hard to find that kind of stuff. So, the times will change there, and it's good to get a foot in the ground as this is building up.
Oh, yeah, and a bit of I like to talk about like business and marketing strategy. The reason why we kept them very separate is Web3 companies want a Web3 auditing firm. They want Hashlock. AI teams, we think, yes, there's heaps of cybersecurity firms, all that stuff. This is a specialized AI safety organization. That's what FORTIFI is, an AI safety. So they're separate, but as you said, I don't know, 5-10 years from now with the umbrella strategy, we can go for a combined brand play. But for now, in terms of growing both brands' authority, FORTIFI is the specialist in AI output validation and AI safety. Hashlock is Web3 security. Different firms, but within the same umbrella. And it's hectic, but very fun.
I can imagine it will be. And, speaking of the future, where do you see all of this stuff heading, whether it's for AI or for blockchain? What do you kind of have in Fletcher's crystal ball? Or what do you see kind of happening over, say, next 12 months, 5 years? Like, where do you see the future heading?
I think, and you probably know, well, you've definitely noticed this, but most people would probably start to see, I honestly think every company is going to become an AI company. Yes, there's manufacturing and things like that, but in terms of like the traditional tech startup, like the Silicon Valley stuff, and I'm not just saying because of the buzzwords and how exciting it is, I'm just saying from a tech perspective, if you assume that AI is going to keep expanding and growing at the rate it is, what solution doesn't it solve? That I know we've had the talk about interpersonal relationship, but I'm saying, like, I'm exaggerating slightly, but what SaaS company, what social media platform, what e-commerce platform, your tech companies will need to use AI to be competitive. So I think every company will become an AI company. Yeah. And also the other thing is AIs will get so good, like, ChatGPT, Gemini's and Google stuff, and is it still Gemini, or is that the new name?
Still Gemini. Yeah.
They've gone through a few name changes, a few controversies and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get so good that why would you go to a different, like, you've got all these web platforms and things you go through for specific things. Like we use our CRM separately, we have our emails, all these things. That's probably going to, and yes, a lot of cybersecurity reasons for that and all that sort of stuff. And we have our search engines and all these different things. But over time, 5-10 years down the line, I log into my AI platform and ask it to do or ask it for anything. Why do I need to have all these different platforms?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm scared that there's not going to be companies as much as going to be AI companies.
There'll
mainly.
be consolidation probably. There'll be a whole heap of like, even in your phone, like when Apple and the Android-based phones come up with those updates where you can just tell it to do stuff and it will open up the apps to do things. I mean, I think that's why people are challenging the whole kind of devices that are coming out, these separate devices that you have to have as separate to your phone, like the Rabbit R1. There's a pin device, I forget what it's called, but
I saw that. Didn't it get really bad reviews? I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
because it projects it onto your hand, and it's not like that's not a good kind of system or whatever.
No.
But at least they're testing and experimenting and stuff. But I agree with you. It's like the analogy I have is that if Salesforce started today, they wouldn't be the way that you see them right now.
No.
Right? If they started with AI, or if any company is trying to solve problem A, they will solve it in a way, if done well, I think they'll put AI at the base and build things around that, and you get very different companies to what you have today. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Honestly. Yeah, it's scary, and I think everyone says that. That's one reason why FORTIFI is, trying to make sure these things are done safely and at a proper pace. But yeah, it goes back to making sure that you have some sort of interpersonal skill set and strategic mind. Because yes, AI is probably going to be far more equipped strategically than most people, but I still think you're going to need the strategic decision maker, at least for a good amount of time, at least for the foreseeable future. Interpersonal relationships, and just it's going to be scary, but it's going to be very fun. I've got a startup idea that I don't have the time to run. So this is a free one, and you might already
put it out there.
It might already exist too.
Right. Yeah.
I've just been thinking about this recently. So I use a CRM called Pipedrive, and most CRMs are similar. Where I use activities all the time. So like all of my client cards, like my deal flow, they all have like my next activity, like check in with them in a week, send them the proposal, meet with them here, all this sort of stuff. And I rank them from high to medium to low. What I wish that I could do in Pipedrive is at least say for the low and mediums, which is just like check in, follow up, say happy birthday, set a rule. For my low and mediums, maybe I can upload it my email so I can see how I've done it in the past. And it does my low and medium activities for me, and then just says, hey, we've done that, you need to set a new, or it sets the new one for you, and then it just pings me. It can take them right through, the deal started, right through to Reddit when it's ready for a proposal, or ready for me to meet with them.
For the human to take over.
It notifies me, hey, we've talked 3 times with this person, we've set you a meeting at this time, or hey, we've got all the scoping details, you need to do it. So it just pings me when a human thing's needed.
Yeah.
But all of my basic low and medium, so much of my day is just basic BD follow-up activity. So a CRM where the activities and some of the deal flow, parts of it, not all, that will need the interpersonal human, but parts of it could be AI. Does that exist?
I'm sure it's being worked on. I haven't seen it in any of the CRM tools, but I don't think we're far off. I'm sure Salesforce is probably doing something like that. But there you go, folks. If you do want to build upon an idea, because there's a lot of AI builders here in Sydney and Australia, definitely
I would use it
here. Yeah,
oh
so
my
there
gosh,
you go. You've got your first customer right here, so congratulations.
It saved me so much time. I think that's a problem, that most CRMs are going to do the same. And if you did it first, then every CRM's just going to start making it. But just from a tech perspective, I just don't see why it's not already in Pipedrive and things like that.
Check back in a few weeks, I guess.
Probably, yeah.
If people want to get in touch with you and learn more about Hashlock, FORTIFI, all the things that you guys are doing, or just to chat with you, how do they best do it?
So hashlock.com.au has really good contact us and request and audit forms. LinkedIn's amazing, so please always do that. I'm always happy to jump on so much of my day is the interpersonal networking calls, all that sort of stuff, because it's just so valuable. So LinkedIn's another one. For fortifai.org, same thing. Reach out on LinkedIn or the inquiry form there. Jock couldn't be here today. Jock Haslam, the other co-founder of Hashlock, and shout out to him. But same thing. He's always happy to jump on a call. Oftentimes we team up on these things as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think we probably it's really cool, especially in this time, because of the market, so many new companies and existing companies that weren't in Web3 throughout 2023, they're starting to come in again. So it's a really good time to network and meet more people as well.
Fantastic. Well, you'll see all the stuff in the show notes there, the links and emails and everything. And Fletcher, thank you so much for your time to come down.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Cheers. That's it.
How good?
Oh,
Mate,
done.
that was sick. That was the best one I've done, I think.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah.